Dave's in London. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, good, sir. What do you want to say?
Mortgage crisis.
Yeah.
It's wrong on so many levels what they're doing. This inflation is supply side. It doesn't matter how much you put up the interest rates. It's not going to change the cost of producing a tin of beans because it's to do with energy costs and everything else.
Yeah.
Only 28% of homes are under a mortgage, 35% of the population. So if the objective is to get demand down, which is silly because it's supply side in the first place, you're hammering 35% of people. The other 65% don't have a mortgage, so it's not going to impact them at all. You're sucking millions out of the economy that should be funding growth. I shouldn't be spending my money on interest rates. I should be putting in some new kitchen stuff and bathrooms and getting plumbers working and everything else. But that's all going.
Well, which you can't do because you're spending too much on the mortgage. But what do you think they think is the reason for putting up the interest rates to mortgage holders?
I honestly don't think that there is anyone in government anymore that understands maths or understands the dynamics of what's going on. People keep going on about the Bank of England and saying, why didn't they act earlier? Why aren't they doing more? They're 9 unelected people. They will meet for lunch this afternoon, and the only tool they have is, do we increase rates, do we keep them the same, or do we reduce them? I mean, how long over lunch does that really take? And then they'll say, we better put the interest rates up because that's what we're expected to do. I believe the banks knew this inflation figure 3 days ago, hence why they were pulling all the mortgages. But you are hammering people with mortgage. All these people have just taken on mortgages to buy a house and now being completely crucified by, and it clearly doesn't work. If you've raised them 13 times, how many more times? What we're 14, 15, 16, and it just goes on and on. And for one, I am a lifelong Tory voter. I swear on my mother's life, I will never vote for them ever again, purely because and only because of what they're doing with these mortgages. Even the Labour guy, who's the annoying Labour guy, Richard, I've forgotten his name.
Oh, I know the guy you mean,
Yeah, you know the guy that's quite annoying. Even he has come out and said, this doesn't work, it's a blunt tool, we should stop doing it. Now, I'm not going to vote at the next election, but if Labour keep making these noises, I will switch to Labour.
Well, here's the thing, though. Don't you think the Bank of England, of course, the government in their defence would say, yeah, but it's nothing to do with us. The mortgage rate gets put up, the interest rate gets put up by the Bank of England. And the Bank of England, in my view, were very, very lax and very, very kind of negligent, if you like, in keeping the interest rate so artificially low for such a long time, because they lulled people into this false sense of security that you would always have a low interest rate and that your mortgage would always be relatively cheap. Well, it hasn't always been like that historically.
No, I know, but let's be honest. No one taking out a mortgage 18 months ago, if you'd have said to them, hey, do you know what? There'll be 14 consecutive months of rises. No one would do that. It's because of the war in Ukraine. And what I also don't like is, if the government have outsourced the interest rates to the Bank of England, they basically it's a bit like, if I was a CEO of a company, it's a bit like me outsourcing my currency hedging department to someone else.
Yeah.
They've outsourced it so they can just sit there and blame the Bank of England. Governments can intervene and deal with this. No other country does this.
Well, I mean, it's all very well. I mean, what I would say about the way that the government has been running the economy as well is that you can have an independent Bank of England, you can have interest rates controlled by them, but when you start introducing bucket loads of free money that you're suddenly inventing, that kind of changes the whole model, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about inflation and interest rates. You've got to think about growth as well. It's not. It's almost like I just don't think Jeremy Hunt. I think he just runs from pillar to post. You can tell there's nothing going on inside his head.
No.
You know, his brain's going around at 1 mile an hour. He can't multitask. And this is an absolute disaster waiting to happen. This is going to take growth out of this country for the next 5 to 10 years at least.
Yeah. No, I think they've done that, and it's a terrible move. Good call, though, Dave. Thanks very much indeed. Dave says he'll never vote Tory again because they've completely messed up the mortgage rates, they've completely messed up the interest rates, they've completely messed up the economy.